my coffee. I'm getting the coffee if you're out there. If you're out there watching. Maybe I'll have to turn it down. Every day I think I got this nailed, and then I get out here and I look orange or I look purple or something, and it's always a little bit of an adventure. I got this. There we go. Oh man, this looks awful. Oh well. One of the finer points of live streaming is you got to be okay with looking like an idiot or whatever. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm John Miglosh for the Wisconsin DMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. Okay, let's see if anything comes up over here. Yeah, we got the creative guy going under with his sparkler in his hand. Not going to do a funny commercial today because we just got too much to cover. Mark Pritchard, who controls an $8 billion P&G advertising budget, says he needs to convince his CFO and his CEO that it's worthwhile doing advertising, okay? And that he's going to double down on creativity. And there were some really interesting things in here. It's not a bad article. There was another guy who took pot shots at it, but he said the key to troubled waters ahead is doubling down on digital, embracing digital or something. I forget, but anyway, everybody says that, so I threw that one away. Marketing, he had a lot of nice things to say about marketing. Marketing creates value and is worth investing in, as well as he's got to convince them the business case for creativity. Pritchard, the power of creativity for growth could be considered marketing industry's most fundamental reason for being. And if you've been on my show before, you know that, yeah, I've actually seen that happen. I've actually seen better use of hidden resources, especially a customer file or a customer segment that could be energized, and multiples in the valuation by marketing alone, changing nothing else in the company. So there is a tremendous force for growth. It's creativity, and I'm a little hesitant about this because the word creativity is such an anomalous bubble. You just don't know what it really means. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But anyway, he finally got to a case study, which I liked, and he said that Pampers is I didn't know this, Pampers is their #1 global brand, and the brand has been transformed through creativity. And he said the first thing that people do when they find out that they're pregnant is they figure out the due date on Google. So they created the Pampers due date calculator. And I was thinking, well, you go to your doctor. My wife, when we were having kids, go to your wife. Your wife goes to the doctor, and the doctor says, yes, you're pregnant, and this is when you're due. But I forgot. I forget that toward the end of it, we had those home tests, and those wouldn't necessarily tell you right exactly what your due date was. So this makes sense, okay? And then parents are offered the Pampers Reward app to receive further information, and then the relationship deepens. And again, you've heard my thoughts on relationship. It's not so much a relationship, but if you give me free stuff, I'll give you free stuff. And so then there's the baby name selector and the Snap Stories AR bedtime stories program. And of course, my grandkids, my daughter doesn't let them anywhere near a computer, but it's okay for parents. Although I think she's probably modeling, she's on her computer and she does all her shopping on her phone, which kind of amazes me. Not everything she gets is right, because it's only little bitty pictures. But anyway, so they did Creative Magic and Poonami and Preemie Touch ads are illustrative of the Creative Magic. But anyway, so he's basically saying that you need to have a good, healthy sense that the world is probably not going to end. It didn't end after COVID. Um, this one I enjoyed. Brave creatives should run and hide from their ideas by Richard Jones. And so he says, you're forced to be creative. You're forced to have some new breakthrough idea, and yet nothing comes. So what do? He says, I like to play hide and seek with ideas. I pretend I'm not interested. I ignore any thoughts I have, which is counter to everything I was told. The received wisdom used to be keep a notebook, write down all the stuff. And of course, I've done a lot of that, but I never go back and look at it. Write down everything that comes into your head. He says, I hate doing that. I find it easier when I'm almost distracted by the world. Maybe that's why it felt easier when I was younger. And then he's got all these other ideas. He says, sleeping under the desk, reading 2 or 3 books at once, listening to podcasts about really obscure stuff. This all made for good dinner conversation, but little else. That's kind of what I do, as you can tell, right? No agency worth its salt is using algorithms. I like this part. No agency worth its salt is using algorithms to create ideas yet. Well, maybe in a new circle of advertising hell, some are. And of course, Scott Adams gave a formula for that, where he said, let your AI do its thing and create your headline, and then split test it. And there's something to that if you give enough feedback to AI, it might come up with something. But we like the brilliance of people and something brilliantly unexpected. So he says, buy time, run away. Which is pretty good. Create your own white rabbit. Don't wait for the white rabbit to appear. Neil Young talked about his muse in songwriting. Having an open tab or pen constantly ready scares ideas away. I thought that was funny. Take it for a walk. He's got a bunch. There's a couple of really good suggestions in here. He said every now and then when he's learning guitar, he has to put the rule book aside, put the lesson book aside, and just have fun with it and see what he can do. And there's something to that. Ultimately, okay, create beautiful friction. I think this is probably the key. If you're going to put a team together, you need diversity of interest, background, culture, gender, you name it. And what we need is to you have to keep in mind, who's the intended audience? What does the CEO like? We have data points around previous successes. And never aim for consensus by democratic vote or detailed point. He says, basically, the process of identifying an idea needs friction. You hate something, I love it. We spend hours talking about it, debating its merits, explaining it, and ultimately, the real idea may show its face, nervous but brilliant face to us all. Okay, don't be afraid to innovate and move away from the screen to create a space for a nap or an obscure documentary or new hobby. It's essential for tomorrow's meeting. And I like that. Okay, and then Matt Gibson has a similar thought, but his accessible design is something for a user interface, that there are actually rules, that you have to have a readable typeface, and that there are ways that disabled people, blind, for example, can, if you build your website right, can navigate the website without having to Silver City, Iowa. I better take this one. Miglosh Marketing. It's spam. But my wife has lots of clients out in Iowa, so I have to take that. So just skip on by. It's a real business here, and I'm a real consultant, and sometimes I think I need to remind people of that. Just let them know that if you have a marketing problem, give me a call. Let's run by it and see what we can find. Anyway, accessible design doesn't restrict creativity. It unleashes it. And he says that these that actually studies show, I always love that, studies show. Research in the Harvard Business Review shows that when there are little to no conditions on creative project, teams become complacent, usually going with the most obvious idea. And we had to talk about that. Don't go with the most obvious idea. Pin it on the wall and walk away and start forcing yourself to find other ideas. But on the other hand, excessive restrictions mean that designers no longer feel like they have any input, and creative will be stifled. So what you need is moderate creative constraints, challenge the team to think beyond the obvious, and experiment with diverse ways of using available resources. He cites designers Charles and Ray Eames. They were tasked with creating a lightweight, durable leg splint, and so they came up with a way of molding plywood into curved shapes, which then became a foundation for furniture creation, which is interesting. He then points to accessibility in user interface, which are these standards, the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. And he said that in itself can help you do a good job, force you down a path of constraint with creativity. But where I really want to get today, this is a really good article, and he's got some case studies down here with MailChimp and with this interface, which was, it had to have A, B, C, D, E, F, G all across the top, but they managed to make it more creative down here. So to keep up to date, that's okay. And here's what I really wanted to get to. Gunderson Direct, Mike Gunderson put out an ad that David Ogilvy for Ogilvy and Mather published in 1972 that was called How to Create Advertising That Sells. And this was the actual ad, and they've sort of transcribed it. And Ogilvy said that as a side box, sort of a Johnson box, he said that they'd created $4 billion in advertising and tested and spent $4 million in testing what worked. I see a lot of people telling you what to put on postcards, what works and what doesn't, but I don't see them talking about any testing, and I know that David Ogilvy talked about it a lot. So this article I highly value because it gives you the conclusion, but you also know that there's a methodology behind it. Whereas when I see some postcard printer telling me, whatever. Now I wanted to show this too. I forgot to put this up. This I could have started as my fun. We've had a couple of storms, but we'll probably have more storms in the next few weeks. And so this body shop, locally owned and operated, hail damage and dent experts, will help file the insurance claims. DoorDing911.com. Excellent. Makes the claim, gives you what, it says they're good at it. It doesn't really say your car will look as good as new or whatever, but it does promise that we'll help file the insurance claims. And it's local. It would be better if they said where it's local, right? I don't see an address. There's also a coupon there. And sometimes, there it is. Janacek Road, Brookfield. Okay, so it does give an address over there. Say Brookfield. Anyway, nice. I had a friend who just had a car really damaged by hail. We had a big hailstorm we went through last week. And good timing. Excellent. Is it targeted to me? No. It's targeted to people who live where hailstorms might be going through. And excellent. But anyway, so the most important decision we've learned that affects your advertising and your sales depends on how should you position your product. So Dove as a product for dry skin or as a product which gets hands really clean. And of course, the slogan for Dove for decades, I think, that David came up with was, creams your skin while you wash. Nice, huh? Nice. Okay. Positioning should be decided before the advertising is created. Okay? So, what then? Large promise. A promise is a benefit for the consumer. We'll figure out the insurance claims for you. Now, pretty much every body shop does that, I think. Doesn't matter. You know, the Shell Answer Man, which David Ogilvy also created, the Shell Answer Man would talk about the 7 ingredients that Shell put in their gas to clean your car's engine while you drove. Did other gasoline have that? You bet. Same exact stuff. But the Shell Answer Man said that we did it, and people believed it. Cars love Shell. That was the great slogan. So promise, cleans your engine while you drive. That's not it. It was better than that, but that was the gist of it. Okay, brand image. 95% of all advertising is created ad hoc. It never looks back at what worked or didn't. Yesterday we talked about having a control, testing to beat that control, and then this becomes a control. This one becomes a control, and then you test against it to beat it. Always looking back to look forward. Makes a lot of sense. If you're data driven, all data is historical. You can't get around it. There's no real-time data. It's all in the past. Sorry. Most products lack any consistent image one year to another. Probably true. Big ideas. Unless your advertising is built on big idea, it will pass like a ship in the night. It takes a big idea to jolt the consumer out of his indifference. Now this one might be, it's nice, got coupon 50% off. Wow, up to 15% off. Receive 10% off your retail dent repair up to $50. Oh, $50. I like dollars. Okay, up to $50. Okay, free estimates. Okay, makes some sense. Makes sense, but we make cars look new again or something like that. Some kind of promise, big promise might be worth trying in that. Okay, this problem when solved will be simple. The Hathaway, that was the one with the black eye patch when the model did the Hathaway commercial or Hathaway shirt ad. Made it stand out. He said, a truly big one can continue for 20 years like our eye patch for Hathaway shirts. And he said he literally was on his way to the photo shoot, and he stopped in a pharmacy to pick something up and decided to buy an eye patch. It was kind of spur of the moment, but the rest is history. So I'm going to skip down to the print, not the television, because I like the print ones. What works best in print? Okay, first, the headline. On average, 5 times as many people read the headline as read the body copy. So if you don't have a good headline, you're throwing 80% of your money away. Put a benefit in the headline, and there's no real benefit in the headline over there, but there is a call out to who needs this service. You need hail and dent repair. You got hail damage. We're the people. Okay, so in a sense it is implied. Okay, 10 words or longer sell more goods. 8 to 10 words are most effective for recall and in mail order. 6 to 12 words. And he cites the headline for Rolls-Royce. At 60 miles an hour, the loudest noise in this new Rolls-Royce comes from its electric clock. And when he told Rolls-Royce about it, the chief engineer said, I've been meaning to do something about that clock. Apparently it said more about the clock than it did about the quietness. But anyway, localize the headlines. Locally owned in Brookfield. Select your prospects. Do you have hail damage, right? Are you a mother? Are you a bedwetter? Are you going to Europe? That it does pretty well. Hail damage. Yes, people read long copy. Story and appeal. I'm not sure that this hailstone in the hand, it's I would like to see some dents. But anyway, before and after would have been a great thing. Before and after, but they didn't have one. Do they have one on the backside? Yeah, before and after. They got a dent. It's a little hard to see. They got a dented. This is before, I think. No, this is, I don't know. Can't see when I hold it up. This one's the dent, and then it goes over here and shows you before and after. And they don't have to repaint your car. I got a dent that needs repair. Okay. Photographs work better than artwork. Captions, twice as many people read the captions. And repeat your winners. Don't give up when it's working. Well, go to WDMA. Oh, geez, I didn't show you all the underlines. I did all those underlines, and I didn't show them to you. I did show you the postcard I just got in the mail yesterday. Well, the whole marked up article, this whole thing from David Ogilvy, can be found at WDMA.org. Thanks to Mike Gunderson for that. WDMA.org, and I'll put a link in the show notes. But you have to be a member, so you have to at least subscribe, which is free. I'll put the link for that. And then once you get to that, then you can see the show notes for 2022, and you'll like it. So get that, read it, show it to your creative people. I think all these articles are really helpful for the creative process.